It's just after 7 in the morning on June 30th, 1908, deep in the Siberian taiga near the Podkamennaya Tunguska River. The sun is up, the reindeer are grazing, and then a second sun tears across the sky, a column of bluish light as bright as the real one screaming overhead. A heartbeat later, the world detonates. 65 kilometers away at the Vanavara trading post, a man named Semenov is sitting on his porch. The flash hits him with a wave of heat so intense he later said it felt like his shirt was on fire. Then the shockwave arrives and throws him clean off the porch. Windows shatter. The ground bucks, 60 kilometers from nothing, and it knocks people flat. This was no small bang. The blast wave registered on barographs across Europe and rolled all the way around the planet. For days afterward, the night skies over Europe and Asia glowed an eerie silver. Newspapers in London claimed you could read outdoors at midnight. The largest cosmic impact in recorded human history had just gone off over Siberia, and almost nobody would go look for over a decade. Why the wait? Because Tunguska happened in one of the most gloriously inconvenient places on Earth. Central Siberian taiga, roadless, swampy, frozen half the year, and a brutal slog from anywhere with a train station. This is hard to reach in 2026. In 1908, it might as well have been the moon. And the timing was, shall we say, busy. The Russian Empire was still rattled from the 1905 revolution. Then came the First World War in 1914. Then the 1917 revolution. Then a civil war. At no point did anyone in charge say, you know what we should prioritize, an expedition to the middle of nowhere to look at some knocked-over trees. So the early reports were sparse, garbled, and shrugged off. The single biggest impact event in human history just sat there, unexamined, unflattened forest spreading silently across 2,000 square kilometers. The largest explosion in modern history went uninvestigated by scientists until 1927, 19 years later. Enter Leonid Kulik, a mineralogist with the Soviet Academy of Sciences and a man with a dream. A giant iron meteorite buried out there, free metal for the taking. In 1927, he finally hauled an expedition all the way to the site, and what he found stopped him cold. 80 million trees flattened. Mile after mile of scorched forest, all lying down, all pointing the same way. They pointed outward, away from a single central point, fanning into a giant radial pattern that from above looks like a butterfly's wings. At the very center, the trees were still standing, but stripped completely bare, like a forest of telephone poles. Spooky, specific, and it should have been a giant arrow saying X marks the spot. Except at X, there was nothing. No crater, no meteorite. Kulik dug. Kulik drained bogs he was sure were impact pits. He came back in the 30s again and again, hunting his iron prize, and never found a main mass of anything. A blast that leveled a forest the size of a city with no hole and no rock. That gaping question mark became the perfect vacuum, and the 20th century rushed in to fill it. A crashed UFO, Tesla's death ray, misfired from Long Island. Antimatter. A mini black hole punching through the Earth. Anything but boring old physics. Here's the punchline the conspiracy crowd keeps missing. The missing crater isn't the mystery. It's the answer. The object never hit the ground. A stony asteroid, or maybe a comet, roughly 50 to 60 meters across, hit the atmosphere at 15+ kilometers a second, couldn't survive the pressure, and exploded in midair about 5 to 10 kilometers up. A cosmic airburst, somewhere around 10 to 15 megatons, 1,000 times Hiroshima punching straight down. That's why trees fell outward in a fan, and why the ones directly underneath stayed standing and stripped. The exact same thing was seen under the Hiroshima airburst. No death ray required. And if you're not sold, the universe ran the demo again on camera. February 15, 2013, over Chelyabinsk, Russia, a 20-meter rock exploded 30 kilometers up, roughly half a megaton, blowing out windows and injuring around 1,500 people, and it landed on hundreds of dash cams and security cameras. A baby Tunguska fully documented. Airbursts are real, recurrent, and exactly what flattened that forest. Today, June 30th, is International Asteroid Day, co-founded by Queen guitarist and actual astrophysicist Brian May, dedicated to spotting the next one before it picks a city instead of an empty swamp. Tunguska wasn't aliens. It was a warning shot. Next time, the Mary Celeste, a ship found in 1872 sailing the Atlantic in perfect order, sails set, cargo intact, breakfast on the table, and not one living soul aboard.